Did you see this clip that Hasan got removed from LSF? What? What? Wait, how did they get it? How did he get it removed from LSF if you're showing it to me on LSF? You mean it was? How do you know it was removed? Removed rule 3.4? What is it?
It's literally the Vaush. The post is locked.
How do you know it was removed?
It says the post is locked. Look up. I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
How do you know it was removed? What's rule 4? What is it?
The post is locked. You won't be able to comment. Short comments by new and find out more.
How do you know it was removed? What's rule 3.4?
I think they put it in
Quality old news? Is this about the house thing? It might be. It could just be like harping on it. I don't know. What is this? Hasan the Grifter.
Which is absolutely horrible for audio quality.
Dude, this is like unimaginable wealth, dude. How the f do people make this much money? $2.9 million near Las Vegas? Dude, oh my lord, dude. You can...
So he's just pretending to be one of us? Like he's pretending to be broke?
Stores, which is absolutely horrible for audio quality.
Dude, this is like unimaginable wealth, dude. How the f do people make this much money? $2.9 million.
How old is this clip? Is this like an old clip? Joker at the end? Yes, I see the Joker at the end. This clip is months old. It doesn't even matter. Like, I don't care. Guys, I want to be totally clear about this, okay? I will never care. He was at 3,750 subs. No, I think that's Zerka's sub count up there. Yeah. Anyway, I don't fucking care. Guys, I will never care, okay? I don't care if a socialist runs around saying, eat the rich, fuck the rich, and then goes and buys a $10 million mansion. I will never care. It is utterly meaningless, because the only meaningful criticism that can be levied is, at worst, the same as any other wealthy person, and at best, oh, they're hypocritical. And I don't care. That's just not an argument that I'm interested in.
Wait, what? But then, it's hypocritical if it's, at worst, the same as any other rich person, because the whole point of them saying, eat the rich, kill the rich is because they do bad things. So if you do the same... Wait, what? Can I hear that again?
Oh, guys, I will never care, okay? I don't care if a socialist runs around saying, eat the rich, fuck the rich, and then goes and buys a $10 million mansion. I will never care. It is utterly meaningless, because the only meaningful criticism that can be levied is, at worst, the same as any other wealthy person, and at best, oh, they're hypocritical. And I don't care.
Oh, so you just don't care that they're being hypocritical, okay? So at best, he doesn't care that they're being hypocritical, which I find is fucking flabbergasting. So at worst, they're just as bad as any other rich person, which is, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then, but that would also make them hypocrites. But yeah, so at worst, like, Hasan is just as bad as any other rich person, which I don't believe is true. But, and then at best, he's just a hypocrite. Why? Why would you? I'm trying to think of the ways this can go. So why is this weird, basically? So why is this stupid? So if he's okay with any socialists being hypocrites, then because I'm trying to think. So like, then are you okay with like a socialist being a landowner? Like if they rent out the property, like they're not a bad... Now, this is my take. My take is... So first, let me just go with my criticism of Hasan buying the house. So A, in my system, because I'm a dumb capitalist, fuck, liberal, blah, blah, blah. My take on it is that Hasan can do whatever the fuck he wants with his money. I don't give a fuck. But my criticism would be like, well, why can't he just like... Instead of buying a $3.4 million house, why don't you just, like, buy a big condominium and then, you know, rent it out at a deficit or, like, at the very bare minimum so that, like, people have access to, like, affordable housing in LA? that's like run by you. And then maybe if you want to go the extra step, maybe you just front the money and it's run like a cooperative housing, however the fuck that might work. You know, you can test that if you want. And if it doesn't work, you just go, okay, fuck, my name's on the deed. I'm sorry, you're not running shit. But you just, you front the money and you go, okay, hey, we're going to run this as a cooperative living space. There's no quote-unquote landowner. But just in case this fails, obviously my name's on the deed, but I'm not going to tell you guys to do anything. You guys are going to run it all yourself. I just bought this. You guys can, like, vote for your own whatever the fuck. Just run it as, like, a cooperative living space. Like, that's my criticism. Is like, why didn't he just do that if you're going to buy property at all? Because that's, like, you can't, if he does that, to me, you can't criticize him for being a dirty landlord because he's just living in this society, quote unquote, right? He's like, yeah, okay, I have all this money, and right now, affordable housing isn't a thing, right? There's not, like, you can't just get, like, you have to rent at a bare minimum. So I'm going to offer the most affordable rent on the planet, like, in all of LA. I'm going to use my wealth, and I'm going to offer the most affordable rent possible. And, whoever they want can live there. Now, that could be abused. Maybe he sets up kind of some gates, like, okay, here's, like, your minimum income has to be this, blah, 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 whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, he can set up that stuff if he wants. But he can do that test if he wants, right? And that, to me, that's, like, really cool. And why wouldn't you just do that? So that's my criticism. Now, if Vaush is okay with Hasan either being no, he's probably not okay with Hasan being as bad as any other rich person. He's at least okay with people, because he says he doesn't care. So he doesn't care. Seems like he doesn't care that Hasan's a hypocrite, basically, is like the worst criticism, or like the best criticism. So at the minimum, he doesn't care that Hasan's a hypocrite. But like why? Like, I'm just thinking, it's like, okay, so can Hasan buy up property and rent like any other landlord? Because, he's being hypocritical, and he says he hates landlords, but now he is a landlord. But he's just being hypocritical, He's just living within the society. He's renting at, like, equal or lower rates than anyone else. He's still making a profit. He's still like a dirty quote-unquote landlord. But, he's just living in a society. And then, like, and then fuck Hasan for a while. Why don't you just say this to anyone else? Why don't you just say this to any other landlord? Why don't you just say this to... Because, like, most landlords, as far as I'm concerned, aren't, like, big corporation landlords that just buy up a million plots of land and then own all the property. Like, they're not some, like, property tycoon lords. Most landowners are just dudes with, like, construction companies, and so they can do their own work on their properties. At least that's what my experience of it is in Canada for the most part, and I think the stats show that. I don't even know what the fuck I would Google. Who? Okay, so I think if I'm reading this stat correctly, this says that 35% of renters own only one unit, 13% 2 to 4, like 150 units more, and then it jumps back up to 30. Most of which are owned by individuals and run by owners. So then this 150 is like condos. Or apartment complexes, I should say. Not condos. Oh, right here. Individuals. Oh, okay, look. All 40... Okay, all properties, most are owned by individuals. Individual investors. 37% are owned by LLPs or LLCs. Companies. So this is the number you're looking at. But if you look down at the brackets, your condos, let's say 5 to 24. 5 to 24, is that really a condo? 2 to 4 is like your house? No. fuck. What's the difference? I think a duplex is a condo, kind of. I think this is where most people live in. And then they're like, obviously, all this. Like, this is all... Maybe I'll consider 5 to 20. So, like, condos and up. So, like, this is weird because it's 5 to 24. This is a big difference. Because, like, a 5-unit condo is probably mostly owned by individuals. But a 24-unit, I don't see that being owned by individuals. But then, like, that sounds like more like a small apartment if there's 24 units in it. And then, like, this is an apartment, this is an apartment, this is an apartment. Like, all these are apartments. So, obviously, apartments are owned by LLCs. Duh. And then most, like, 1 unit. So, like, this is, like, you know, someone's renting out the basement. This is someone's renting out a house. This is someone's renting out a small condo to a large condo, I'll call it, I guess. And then this, I would be curious how this breaks up. That's a huge gap. But anyways, I think most people live like here. If not, you're like living in an apartment. So I want to say the distribution is like here to here. So like, anyways, regardless, let's just look at the all number. 41% of landowners are just individuals that own a 1 to 5 unit house, I would assume. I'm making an assumption on this one just because the gap is so fucking massive. Do I need to make that? No, these are all like other things. So, and we can ignore, and what's interesting is like, look at all the rest. So what is this? General, what the fuck does this say? Oh. Oh lord, I don't know what I did. Oh, you fucker. Can I read? What does that say? General. How did I... Oh. General partnership. I don't know what that means. REIT, don't know what that is. Real estate corporation. Real estate corporation don't even own any rentals. They just buy and sell individual houses, I think is mostly what they do. Other trustees for estates, non-for-profit organizations. So this is like really what LLCs and individual investors is what we're really looking for. But anyways, this... Okay, my all number just disappeared. Okay, there we go. We got it back. But again, yeah, so individual. So back to like the hypocrite thing. Like, Hasan makes more than most landlords do. So if Hasan were to become a landlord, he'd probably be closer to like an LLP or an LLC owning one than individuals. So he's more towards like the quote unquote evil corporations, like land. But would he just be but he's renting like low enough, like I don't know, man. It just seems so dumb how you have like zero. It's not that you have zero criticism. It's just like a weird kind of sideswipe to like what could be done that's better. Like I just think back to Vaush talking to Destiny, and he's like, "It never occurred to me to go out and like do like knocking on doors, whatever the fuck." And I'm like, how did that never occur to you? What? How the fuck did that just never, ever, ever occur to you? To just go and do things politically. Like, I don't understand how that doesn't cross your mind ever as, like, a politically savvy person. The only thing I think, like, the only thing that stopped Destiny from doing that in the past was that he just didn't give a fuck about any elections. He really didn't care. So he's just like, I'm not gonna go like do stuff for something I don't really care about. But then he found like Mark Gudgel, whatever, and like he cared, and then they got fucked. But like Vaush seems to like want to care about a million things. It's just so strange. Like, and then I think even the serfs, to some small extent, I don't think they did any like actual door knocking. They just kind of gave the MP a platform, but they interviewed like MPs and stuff like that. It's like, how does that never cross your mind to do like any kind of political outreach using your platform? What the fuck? How are you like so like dug in and serious about politics, and then some of these small things just don't cross your mind? Now again, Hasan, like this is what I don't care, because in my system, A, he could do whatever, and B, I don't really take him that seriously as like a political person, anyways. So maybe, you know, now Hasan. Now the problem is, I'm saying that Vaush might think that Hasan's not that serious of a political person, but I think Hasan takes himself pretty fucking seriously as a political person. So, if you're gonna take yourself so seriously as a political person, why not do something more political with your money? Why does it have to be a $3.4 million house? Now, some of the weird, like, justifications I saw was like people like Actual Jake like tweeting a couple times. Now I don't know, maybe this isn't the full story, but he's like basically just saying like, oh, it's only 400 square foot. Wow, you can get a house like, you know, you can get a house for that size here in Michigan for like $400,000. Wow, it all depends on where you live. It's like, well, wait, then why the fuck? Wait, hold on, but that isn't that what? Why didn't Hasan just choose to live somewhere else, or like use that money? Like, what? Yeah, yes, houses in LA are really expensive. That doesn't change the what? Like, I don't understand. I don't even know where you like why you bring that up. Like, oh yeah, it's just about where you live, bro. Like, it's only expensive because you live in LA. Like, yeah, it's still a $3.4 million house. Yeah, if you bought a $3.4 million house in Michigan, it would be a fucking humongous mansion. But that, I don't care about the size of the house. That doesn't justify the $3.4 million purchase. Because if you really needed a house that big, then yeah, why doesn't he just like move or like buy that house, that same kind of house somewhere else in California? Or again, do the thing I said, which is like give like, you know, affordable housing to people who need it in LA. I don't know. Now Hasan will say like, oh, I like, you know, my parents, like, your parents don't need to live in a fucking $3.4 million house. I don't know, dude. Send your parents off to some fucking beautiful place that doesn't cost that much. I don't know, like, give them a retirement home in the middle of the fucking like tropical islands. I don't know, dude. It just seems like, yeah, my only criticism is that like you can do more with this money, but to me, again, that's my only criticism. But that's like a criticism in the position that Vaush is in, as to like that criticism I bring up is only a criticism like, well, why isn't more people saying this if they're on the left and they take themselves so seriously as political people? Because like, if I had $3.4 million, I'd probably be like, oh fuck, like I could do whatever I want because, you know, I'm dirty capitalist, whatever the fuck, whatever you want to say. You know, it's money I earned. You know, I want more taxes. I want, like, there's a million things I can say that I want as a political thing. But regardless of that, let's say I accrued $3.4 million somehow and I wanted to buy, I am morally justified in buying whatever the fuck I want because that's like my system. But for people like Vaush or Hasan who like all the time say like in the clip there where it's like, this is ungodly amounts of money. It's like, well, yeah, you just bought a house that's more. Like, what do you mean? Like Hasan's here saying like, you don't need this much money. Like, bro, like, you have this much money now. So then why do you need this house? That's the criticism. I don't... Right? Let's see what else Vaush says.
Here,
But
that's just not an argument that I'm interested in. Oh, what a hypocrite. They don't like abusive, rich power structures, but they have wealth. I don't care. I will never care. You should care in terms of their sincerity? No, I don't. I just don't. Dude spreads socialist messaging to millions of people, and I'm gonna get mad he has a big house? It means nothing. Literally nothing. Just get over the fact that you're spiteful or envious, and just stop being weird.
okay, well, good. This doesn't apply to me then, because I'm not spiteful or envious of his house. I'm just wondering why he doesn't do more with his money. So I'm good. I'm in the clear here of his criticism. But like, that's my problem. Like, sure, yeah, if you're just here like mad that Hasan owns a house, that's, yeah, you're dumb. But if you're like, if you have my criticism and it's kind of like, okay, well, dude, why didn't you just like use the money in a more kind of proactive way to help with people who actually need like property? Like you can, or like whatever, like use that $3.4 million to do something more, you know? And I don't know why that criticism doesn't come up. I think the only person who has brought that up is Destiny, but I'm sure everyone's either A, everyone's ignoring it, or B, they've twisted it into, oh, yes, he's just spiteful that Hasan was at home. Like, I don't know. Like, Zerka's thing was, like, a funny clip, but it's also, like, true almost. It's like, oh, he's just pretending? Because, yeah, he just screamed at Sniper Wolf for buying a, like, $2.9 million house. And then a year later, let's say at max, I think this, like, the clip was only a couple months old. So Hasan was already making fucking big bucks. It's not like Hasan was making, I don't know how many couple, because I think Hasan's only been streaming for like a year and a bit. Or made it big a year and a bit ago. So like a year ago, you know, Hasan's saying that, and now he's like making that much money, and he has no problem buying that same house. Sure, like you don't need to care, but it wonders like, it's. What that reminds me of is when I don't think Vaush held this position, but some other lefties. So maybe this is like tough to bring up because this is Vaush. I don't think Vaush held this position, but it reminds me of like when AOC got elected. A bunch of people like jump ship on her because she's like, oh, she's been changed. It's like, now maybe these are the same people that are currently attacking Hasan, so maybe like they're still consistent. But it just reminds me of like people like, oh, I don't really like AOC anymore because she kind of like, you know, got changed by the system. Like, yeah, so why aren't you mad at Hasan? The system's clearly changed him. He's buying a $3.4 million house, something last year he was saying was unbelievable, and you know have no need for it. Like what? Like, and also, why aren't you also like defending like the Nico lol girl now too? Because like now maybe Vaush didn't give a fuck about that and said something past you like, okay, I don't care that she has a house. But like fuck, like oh my god, it's just like. I don't know what else to say besides because I need like something to like bounce off of, because my position is very clear. Why didn't Hasan do more with his money? And Vaush's side is like, I don't give a fuck what he does. It's like, well, why? You don't seem to not give a fuck. You seem to care a lot what people do with their money. Because you'll bully landlords for being like landlords, even though they have way less money than Hasan does. Most landlords, like we saw in that stat there, are individuals. And I'm pretty sure these aren't individuals with like millions of fucking dollars. They're probably individuals that make, you know, average wages. Let's see. Oh, yeah. More than half of the properties have mortgages or similar debts on them. So a lot of properties, 59% of properties have a mortgage on them. So the units are used to pay off the mortgage. So they're not, quote unquote, making profit until that's paid off. I don't care about expenses. I don't care about that either. Okay, that didn't tell me about like profits, but. Oh, mom and pop landlords manage 77% of 2 to 4 unit properties. Oh, there we go. So apparently I don't know why that's a different stat than there, but mom and pop, so that means like mom and pop is like one kind of like just average kind of, no one's making crazy money. Mom and pop means that you're not making fucking bonkers money. So like these are mom and pop rental units, and you're really getting fucking, I don't know. Yeah, that's my only kind of like, my position is very clear. Why didn't Hasan do more with his money? Vaush's response would probably be something like, well, does he have to? And it's like, no, my position is he doesn't have to. Your position, I don't know why, isn't that he should, because like you guys tout all these things. This is why this conversation is weird, because like my position is that he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need to fucking you don't need to further your political goals if you with like money. If you don't really want to, like it's fine. Like I don't really give a fuck. It's just money. You know, you're making a fuck ton of it. You know, maybe it's better if like if I'm thinking to myself, if I'm making like, you know, millions and millions of dollars through political stuff, like I'm like, oh fuck, like to me, would I feel some kind of obligation to do more? Maybe a little bit, but a lot of my political takes are policy based. And they can't really be done individually. Besides, now maybe I could, maybe I would do, if I had millions of dollars, maybe I would do the affordable housing thing. Maybe I would just try that. Fuck it. Now again, it's hard for, like, you know, you don't really need to trust me when I say this because it's not like I have millions of dollars. So I'm just throwing these out into the middle air. I don't actually, there's no, like, everything I'm saying is meaningless because I don't have millions of dollars. But I'm curious if I would actually try it or not. I would assume I would. But even if I don't, my political views, you know, allow me that flexibility where it just seems like if you're Vaush or you're any of these lefties, it shouldn't really leave you up to that because they describe landlords and all these people as like very evil types of people. But then like Hasan becomes one and then like they just move the bar up. So it's like, you know, landlords are like evil, disgusting people. It's like, okay, well, hold on, wait. Like, aren't most landlords like only making like a couple hundred, like maybe like 100K if they're lucky? If they're like if they run their own, like, you know, maybe 100K if they're lucky. Now, depending on location, whatever, let's say like they make good money or not, whatever. Most of the time they're just making like pretty good money. They're not like disgusting, you know, evil LLCs and stuff like that. Like those are people who like own apartments for the most part. Even then, they probably aren't making that much profit because their whole company is just rental properties. If like rental properties were so unbelievably fucking profitable, more people would be doing it. Anyways, it's like, okay, so like they're evil still somehow because no one, and then like rich people are also kind of, you know, bad and evil because they don't do anything with their money, or like they don't need it. So like, why are you buying it? That was Hasan's like take in the clip was, oh my god, Sniper Wolf, you don't need this this is unbelievable wealth. You don't need this. You don't need this kind of house. Like, why are you buying it? Like, do something else with your money. Like, this is why we need to tax people more, because you're buying stuff that you don't need. And then now it's, oh, Hasan did that? Okay, never mind. I don't know. It just seems really weird to me. It's like, I don't know. And you can levy the same criticism at Vaush. Like, Vaush, when you talk to Destiny, he's like, oh, doing affirmative action, whatever the fuck shit, didn't even cross my mind. Like, going door to door, knocking on door, like, didn't even cross my mind. He still hasn't done that. Why? I don't know. Maybe there's, like, logs of him donating stuff to political parties, but he hasn't made any, I don't know, maybe I don't pay attention to it enough, so I don't want to speak too much out of my ass, but as far as I'm concerned, he hasn't gone under the ground and done this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's hard. Again, it's hard for me to like levy this criticism without like a response to it. I find I need to kind of like hear where he's coming from and kind of slowly tear it apart there. Because it's hard for me to do this when my opinion is just, I don't care what Hasan does. It just seems like Vaush should care what Hasan does with his money, or any rich person does with their money, but magically doesn't for some reason. I don't know.
About it, okay? It's super cringe.
So
yeah, Rivera Life. It's just, it's so fucking boring. If you have any arguments for me, make them about harm done, okay? Don't make them about fucking hypocrisy. It's so fucking boring every time.
Okay, so he only cares about harm done. So I could think of an argument where, okay, A, Hasan making money on Twitch is harm done, or signing his Jeff Bezos contract was harm done because, you know, he's getting paid by the guy who owns Amazon, and to all of these people, Amazon does horrible things to people, right? So you sign this big exclusivity contract from Big Daddy Bezos, and you use that money to then buy this house. So you got that money through harming people, not directly, but, you know, in support of that harm. In the same way that, like, you know, if I, in the same way, I mean, to me, direct harm, and supporting the direct harm are the same thing, because I grew up where if you were a bystander to someone being a bully, you're just as fucking culpable or like morally fucked as the bully itself. But that's just me. You know, that's just how I was raised. For further clarification on this, if like let's say you're walking through the school hallways and you see somebody getting bullied and you do nothing, what I was taught is that if you do nothing and keep on walking, besides you being like in fear for your life or something like that, if you just go, oh, whatever, I could stand up but I don't want to, you are just as bad as the bully. That's how I was taught. Okay, like that's how I grew up. That's what I believe is, and you can't change me on the fucking opinion. You are just as bad as the bully if you just watch it happening and you do fucking nothing about it when you can do something about it. Now let's say like it's some big jock. Even then, I would give like super major props if you were like some tiny shrimp kid and you stood up to a big bully and you got decked. I would, oh holy fuck, would you be like a god in my eyes. But if you're some tiny shrimp kid who literally can't stop the bullying even if you tried, then I don't blame you for not. But if I'm walking through the halls, during high school, I was a pretty big guy. I could take on playing rugby, stuff like that. I could take on the bullies. There wasn't much bullying going on because we were taught this anyways. So I think this helped. We were all taught this. So that helped against the bullying. But if I saw bullying happening, I could step in and be like, hey. And if I didn't, I would feel really fucking bad about that. Yeah, so that's just how I was like taught to deal with bullying, is that if you are a bystander, you are just as morally in the wrong as the bully themselves. You probably won't get punished because you can't really punish somebody for just not doing anything, but you should feel just as bad about the situation, okay? Because you decided to do nothing about it. So back to this. Hasan, in my opinion, by signing a big exclusivity contract with Twitch, getting paid by, Jeff Bezos, whatever, you are, kind of just accepting or being a bystander to the troubles that go on at Amazon. You can use Hasan, and before you argue, oh, but he's just, he didn't have to sign that contract. He could have kept going with the original Twitch ways, which is that you don't run ads, and you make all your money off of subs, and it gives less money to Twitch and more money to you. So he could have kept doing that and make maybe not as much money, because I'm pretty sure the reason why he accepted the exclusivity contract is because it gave him more either upfront money or more money in general than just through subs and donations. But he could have declined that contract, that exclusivity contract. He could have declined it and kept going on his normal ways, which would have given Twitch less money because he runs less ads. Ads make Twitch a fuck ton of money. And because of that, that hurts Jeff Bezos indirectly, right? Because he's essentially making almost the same amount of money and giving Jeff Bezos a lot less money because he's not signing that exclusivity deal. So, he wanted the bag. He got the bag. He signed the contract. Again, my system, I don't give a fuck. But for Vaush and Hasan, they should care because you're kind of accepting what Jeff Bezos does for Amazon if you're just like totally fine with, taking part in his other company that he owns. So you sign this big contract when you don't have to. And also you being such a big Twitch streamer, you could have gotten other Twitch streamers together and been like, hey, I don't like what Jeff Bezos is doing with Amazon, so we're gonna sync up, we're gonna fuck over Twitch so that maybe they can do something with Amazon. We're gonna make a Twitch Amazon coalition party, fucking whatever the fuck, and do some stuff. Or just he doesn't even have to do that. Hasan could just organize a union on Twitch. Honestly, by himself, he can unionize Twitch streamers. But he doesn't. I don't know. That's what seems weird to me is like that. So I don't even remember the fuck Vaush said. No, wrong video.
Fine. Make them about fucking hypocrisy. It's
oh yeah, sorry. He's talking about harm. So like, indirectly, Hasan is kind of supporting harm. Also, the other argument I was gonna make is that affordable housing. If affordable housing isn't out there, you're causing harm. In I think most lefties' opinion is that they want affordable housing. Housing markets and whatever the fuck cause direct harm right now because it's people can't afford houses, so they're fucking homeless or have to live in shitty situations or can barely get by because housing and renting is such a high price right now. Hasan, by buying a house, is perpetuating that system of real estate, essentially, right? Now, this may not be Vaush's position, but it seems like it's somebody like Actual Jake's position, where Actual Jake before said that Destiny would become a Republican, and then I think it was Know Nothing said like, oh, bet, like I'll give you odds on this bet if you think this will happen. And then Actual Jake responded basically saying like, oh, that's a weird thing to do. Why would you want me to perpetuate capitalism to prove a point, whatever? So what that means is that like, oh, perpetuate capitalism to prove a point. Like, you don't want to perpetuate capitalism, which is fine. If that's your opinion, that's fine. But then you should care about Hasan buying a house because he is perpetuating capitalism by buying big houses for big amounts of money. Should a house in LA cost $3.4 million? If you don't think so, don't buy a house for $3.4 million in LA. Right? I don't know. That's the other side of the criticism, is that you can extrapolate that Hasan is also causing harm because he's perpetuating the real estate market system that causes people in LA to live in potential abject poverty because they can't afford their rent. Because people like Hasan buy the $3.4 million house, which then raises the price of everything else, blah, 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 or perpetuates the system that has caused rental prices in LA to be so fucking crazy high. Hey, maybe I'm stretching too far. But again, I don't know. Like, to me, it doesn't seem like that's too far of a stretch, just because the fucking stretches that people like Vaush do and Hasan do on many other things is fucking wild enough that there's no fucking way that that's a crazy stretch. That Hasan buying a house perpetuates, because if Actual Jake did this, right? Making a friendly bet between two people to see if Destiny would become a Republican in the next couple of years. That bet is perpetuating capitalism. I think buying a $3.4 million house is a little bit more perpetuating capitalism than that. Just a tiny little bit more. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
So fucking boring every time. The same stupid. They did it with Bernie Sanders and AOC, and they're gonna do it with every other left-leaning person ever in media. You realize that, right?
So again, just an FYI, just so I can pull away from this. Again, my system is I don't care what Bernie does with his money. Bernie made his money selling a book. That's probably the least harm you can possibly do ever. And AOC, what was it for? A fucking address? Oh, fuck you. That one's just dumb. I don't even need to.
Anytime any popular left-leaning person does anything that indicates that they're wealthy, fucking Fox News is going to go off in a tizzy about how it means that the left is hypocritical in lining their pockets, okay? It's stupid and it's...
Yeah, so again, I'll agree with Vaush. Those criticisms are all dumb. Just Vaush owns a home, bad. But, on Vaush's side of things, he seems to want to say things like, oh, well, Hasan just lives in a system. So, like, he's justified in buying this house because he's made this much money. And the system, currently we live in, allows him to, like, spend X, whatever amount of money that he wants on these things. So then, he's justified because he just lives in the system. But Hasan has enough money now that he can help change the system in small ways, in some ways. Like, Hasan's argument in the clip was that Sniper Wolf doesn't need this house. She can live well within, like, she can tick all of the boxes off that she needs to survive and be a Twitch streamer with a much smaller house. So then my argument would be is that Hasan should do the same. And like, if you're a socialist that kind of, yes, you live in this society. That doesn't mean that you kind of are justified to just buy a $3.4 million house. Why don't you just live to your means? Like, buy the best internet, buy the best computer, buy the best whatever, get the best studio, but buy a house that has whatever aspects you need. If it turns out that that's a $3.4 million house, by all means. I don't think that'll ever happen, right? You can meet all of your demands, at a much cheaper price than that. And I think that's kind of like the point of all of your arguments. Yes, you live in a society, but why don't you live the best possible life? How can I best describe this? Why don't you live the most socialist possible life you can within that system to kind of prove your point? typically when I hear the words "you live in a society," what that justifies to me is the guy who works in the oil industry. You know, the people who move out in Canada. This is a mostly Canadian thing. People who move out west to Edmonton, Alberta, to work in the oil fields. I don't give a fuck about them. I'm not like, oh my god, you're evil for working in the fossil fuel industry. I'm like, hey, you probably need to make some fucking money. That's probably the best place to do it. Go do it, okay? Feed your family, you know, do whatever. Sometimes people do it to just make more money, and I'm kind of like, okay, like whatever. But for the most part, it's like, okay, yeah, go out there, get your money, feed your family, do whatever you need to do. You live in a society. Or you live in a society to the guy who is dirt fucking poor and he steals an apple, right? You live in a society, just, I don't give a fuck if you steal my apples. You are starving, okay? Or you live in a society to, you can say that to a defense lawyer, or probably a defense lawyer who has to defend an evil corporation. I don't view that lawyer in any moral wrong because he's just doing his job. Maybe scumbag corporation gets away with human rights fucking like abuses, borderline human rights abuses, but I'm not gonna tag that moral, you know, fuck up on the lawyer tasked with defending them or helping make that case. Because that's literally the system allowing that to. That's not the lawyer's fault. Okay. You could say you live in a society to. I don't know. Basically, the point is that like you live in a society is a very minute thing. Once you are capable of living whichever life you want to live, if you are capable of living the most lavish life possible, you kind of become more. You do become more. What's the word? Holy fuck. You become a lot more responsible for your like what you say. So what I mean by this is that like if you want to use the argument that Vaush can buy this $3.4 million house because he lives in a society, then any rich person ever can buy whatever the fuck they want because they live in a society. When Mark Zuckerberg buys a brand new yacht or whatever the fuck, they just live in a society, bro. Okay? They might have made their money off of the fossil fuel industry, but they just live in a society. Society has deemed that, and the system we live under has deemed that a profitable industry, and they're just making profits off that, and they bought this yacht. They just live in a society. That's where it leads to. Hasan lives in a society. The society that he lives in has given him this much money, and he has bought in this house. He lives in a society. He is justified in buying this $3.4 million, despite everything he's saying, because he lives in a society that allows him to buy this property, or that has whatever else you want to say. Yeah, but if you said, then you can you can apply it to everything. Now, if you want to bring in a morality thing, which I think Vaush wants to do, where it's like, okay, well, Hasan can spend this money because he's doing the least amount of harm with his work. Now, besides the fact that that Twitch exists in part by Jeff Bezos running Amazon, and Amazon does a lot of harm, there's also the fact that people run these servers that he streams on, and those people probably aren't getting paid as much as they maybe should be, or they might be being abused in some other way, because it's not like running these servers are, super wealthy, awesome jobs. They're probably just fucking minimum wage jobs somewhere, and then maybe some higher stuff if you're like an engineer. So that's another abuse there, because the minimum wage in the United States is low enough. So the servers that run in the United States that Hasan streams his platform on, there's probably some level of harm there. So Hasan, through streaming on Twitch, isn't absolved of all harm. So that argument kind of falls apart there. I'm gonna take a little quick break. I gotta piss really fucking badly. Be right back. Okay. So the perfect tweet from Hasan himself has come out. So first, to reiterate, my position is that if I was in Hasan's shoes, the things I advocate for more policy stuff. So it's like, hey, you should tax me more as a rich person more, and the rich in general more. But if you're not going to I'm not going to give more to taxes and stuff yet, but I'm going to advocate for that more and more and more. And if I was rich, and because paying taxes, we know that doesn't work, but something that might work is if I had a fuck ton of money, I might buy up a condo, or I might run that public, that cheap housing thing, where I buy up a condo and I rent it out at a deficit, or at a small deficit, or at the very bare minimum, basically non-for-profit housing. And I would run that experiment and see how that goes. But at the end of it doesn't really matter if I do or not, because I'm curious how public housing would go, but it's not really my position that there needs to be a basic. Well, it kind of is. I kind of want to see how that would work. I just don't know how that would work. If it does work, I would obviously want some basic level of housing. Everyone can live in a house. If you can't otherwise afford a house, you get a house. If you can't afford a house in some capacity, you have to buy your house. It's kind of the very bare minimum I want. That's usually where I want stuff is for as a very basic thing. I want things that for dental. So here's a good example. In Canada right now, dental isn't covered by our healthcare. Maybe it should one day, but maybe as a starting point test, we go, hey, if you can't otherwise, two things. Dental checkups should be free. Get 2 checkups per year, paid for by the government. Bing, bang, boom. And then, because other than that, if you need more dental work, it's probably because you haven't been taking care of your teeth that much. But the other thing too is if you can't otherwise afford dental care, you can have dental care. As a baseline thing. But anyways, the perfect kind of tweet came out here. Wondering if should I watch the rest of the video first or not? He's downstairs though. Hold on. I think my brother's just doing laundry actually. No, I won't. I'll watch the rest of the video after. Actually, I'll find the tweet because I don't want to. Okay, here it is. No, what the fuck? Okay. So motherfuckers will call me a NIMBY when I'm in favor of public housing and don't think giving up would cost people money to convert their garages into studio apartments that they can rent out will solve the housing problem in California. I'm still in favor of more housing, dummy. So, basically, as far as I'm concerned, Hasan's tweet is that he's in favor of public housing. So he's bought his $3 million house, and then he's still in favor of public housing. So that on its basically stays in line with my thing, where it's just oh, you're just advocating for policies, and you can't really change those policies otherwise. But you can do something like this. It's in your capacity to do something like public housing or closer to public housing with the wealth that you have, and then obviously it's not going to be enough, and you should still advocate for public housing, because it should be more of a national thing or a state by state thing. But you can do this where Hasan, using his $3.4 million, can buy up property and rent it out as affordable housing / public housing, deficit renting or whatever the fuck, however he wants to run it, and he can do that. It's within his power. So it's not public housing because he's still making people pay rent, but it's the most affordable, bare minimum rental cost for California, so that you can live there. It's affordable housing in California funded by Hasan. You can do that and still advocate for public housing, but you have the wealth required to do that and still live your highest, like, you know, life, basically. Yeah, that's like my argument. Is that it just seems like Hasan could do a little bit more with his money and he just kind of chooses not to. And to me, I don't care. But again, like to Hasan or Vaush, you should probably care, I would think. But just imagine the justifiable hate I'd get from these globe accounts if I got money from the state to build a second house in my backyard, then rent it out. They'd rightfully call me a greedy landlord and actually be a justifiable criticism for once. This is the funny problem, is that this tweet makes me believe that if Hasan or any leftist ever rented out a house ever, they'd be just labeled a greedy landlord, so they will never do it. But like, you don't have to be a greedy not just owning land and renting it out is greedy. Just do it at non-for-profit. Like, what? Do it at no profit. It's not greedy if you're not doing it for profit. The fuck? Like, yeah, do that, Hasan. Don't ask for government money. Build a second house in your backyard and rent it out at non-for-profit pricing. Do that. Why not? I don't know. Especially when it's not building more ugly luxury condos. Yeah, true. Maybe build less luxury condos and build more affordable. Oh, wait. Could you maybe do that, Hasan? I technically can't because you need zoning from the government, blah, 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 blah. But still, why am I here? Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of plays into my point. Like, you can.
A standard that's designed specifically to neuter the left and make it difficult for them to get any real advocacy done. And also, it gets a bunch of leftists arguing over, like, with each other, whether or not you're a real activist if, like, you have a little more money than average. There are people who say that, like, mid-tier left...
A little more money than average? Is he can't be talking about Hasan now. Hasan is making a little bit more than average.
These YouTubers aren't doing enough to spread their wealth. Holy fuck, can we calm down? Dude, the left is never going to win if anytime somebody is raised a millimeter above everyone else, that person gets dragged down by 100,000 virtue-signaling moral Puritans who care about nothing more than like showing the world that they don't like wealthy people. I will never...
Wait, but... Again, I'm not advocating for Hasan to be fucking equal to everyone else. I'm just asking him, why can't he use his money in more proactive ways for his cause? For example, by the way, right, the reason why people like Ben Shapiro exist and Steven Crowder exist and Dave Rubin was a thing for a while is because rich right-wingers fucking throw money at these people. Just throw it away to get their message out and to keep it, because it makes them more money in the long run. That's why they do that. They are literally throwing away their wealth and taking themselves down a few pegs so that in the future they can make even more money through the policies that these people push. So Hasan can use this wealth and fund people to push policies that he wants. Could he not? Could he not fund more streamers to stream like he does and be and show off his voice in the same way or whatever the fuck? I don't know what word I was looking for. To run parallel with him and stuff like that. Could he not fund more government, parties and whatnot to do this, or candidates and whatnot? Like, could he not use his wealth in that way to do that? Like, he's not living any worse of a life by doing that. And you criticize fucking rich people for doing this all the fucking time. Whenever fucking any rich person donates a fraction of their wealth, you're like, oh, it's only a fraction of your wealth. Well, yeah. But at least it's something, and here you are arguing that, like, Hasan doesn't have to do any of that. He doesn't have to give away a fraction of any of his wealth, because, like, you don't want him to be taken down to the levels of, like, that we can't get anything done, because if a leftist ever makes any money, we have to drag them back down. But Hasan is making a fuck ton of money, way more than anyone else around him. Yeah, I'm not advocating that he needs to be brought down to the same level that I'm at, even though I live a very privileged fucking life. I don't think Hasan needs to be brought down to my level. But if you're gonna complain that Jeff Bezos only donated $20 million to like save the rainforest, you can't if this is your argument. Because like, yeah, that's a fraction of Jeff Bezos' wealth, but it's still more than fucking zero. And you're right now advocating that Hasan doesn't have to do anything with his money. He doesn't have to do any political stuff at all with his money. So then why are you mad at Jeff Bezos for donating money to save the fucking rainforest? Because it's quote unquote not enough. Well, Hasan could do a fuck ton more with his money, and you're currently advocating for him to do nothing with it. It's just weird. Like, suddenly Hasan has the means to do more with his wealth? He doesn't have to. What do you mean he doesn't have to? Why do you argue that anyone else has to and Hasan doesn't? And Hasan is absolved of that. If he's able to afford a $3.4 million, he makes $1 million a year, for sure. Okay, I don't know how many subs does Hasan have. He usually posts them. How many subs does Hasan have? Okay. Oh my fucking god. Current active subscribers. 52,000 active subscribers. So I'm going to take the bare minimum, okay? Because most of them are tier 1 / is it the same thing? I'm going to just go with tier 1. Okay, we're going to go to calculator. What is happening? We're going to open up this calculator here. We're going to go, what is it? Do you make $3? Oh god, I don't know what he makes off the contract. Does he make more money off subs now? What is Hasan's sub revenue split? I'm gonna guesstimate it's 3. I'm gonna guesstimate it's like he makes $3. I'll guesstimate that he makes $3. So $3 times 52,000 is $157,000 a month. Times 12 is $1.8 million. That's A, me rounding down, and B, his sub count keeps going up. He's probably making more than this. And I might be rounding the number wrong. Let's just say, fuck it. Well, let's say it's the opposite, and he only makes $2. $2 times $52,000 is $104,000 a month. Times 12 months out of the year is $1.2 million. You're telling me that Hasan, who makes $1.2 million a year, can't do more with his money? Or isn't obligated to? Now, I don't believe he's obligated to, but you seem to be thinking that he can't do more with his money? This is him living within his means? What? What? So when Jeff Bezos only donates $20 million to help the rainforest, that's not enough. But Hasan donating $0 to anything, that's fine? Oh, here we go. Here's Hasan donating to stuff. $1,000. $1,000. $1,000. $1,000. Huh. Only $1,000. You make a couple $1 million. You can only give $4,000 away. It's not enough. Tax him more, right? Also, where did he get this money? Over the past few days. This is in May of last year. So maybe he was making dog shit money. Well, regardless, he got this from quote-unquote right-wingers giving him money to say dumb shit on stream. So, like, donations. So he took that donation money and gave it to people. Why don't you give more of your actual profits every year and do the same thing and post about it? Hell, but you won't post how much you've donated? Whatever. So maybe he does. He doesn't really post about it. Because the only thing I found was, that tweet. Oh! Isn't this his old home? Oh, never mind. I do donate. Hasan says, I do donate. Some public, most not. So I'm just going to sadly go ahead and assume that he doesn't I'm going to sadly go ahead and assume that he just doesn't donate. By the way. Sorry, not sorry. And then this is a brain dead take that thinks Bill Gates is a good guy, by the way. No, this one's extra funny, by the way, because I can easily argue that Bill Gates accrued his money through unharmful means, because all Bill Gates really did was just make Microsoft and give us computers. Like, that's like minimal harm there in comparison to like someone like Jeff Bezos. Like, Bill Gates just made computer. So yeah, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, why do you? Okay, I would have to ask, why do you think Bill Gates isn't a good guy? Maybe there's something out there that tells me that Bill Gates makes all of his money through some gross, horrible, wealth extracting methods. I'm assuming that those gross, horrible wealth extracting methods are just him investing in companies that maybe do that. Which, if that's the take, fuck off. Then Hasan is doing just as much harm because he's taking money from fucking Jeff Bezos. If that's the rest, like, if Bill Gates investing in companies that causes harm, that cause harm themselves, if that is Bill Gates being a bad guy, then Hasan taking money from fucking Jeff Bezos, the quote-unquote #1 villain on Twitch for these lefties, they're the same. I'm sorry. Hasan and Bill Gates are causing the same amount of fucking harm. I'm sorry to break it to you. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I gotta fish this up.
Never care. And yes, I will probably buy expensive stuff in the future, okay? I am covering my own ass. And if you guys ever get rich and do the same, I support you. And by the way,
Oh god, it's so cringe. I hate it. So like, yeah. So Vaush is now taking the position that if you get rich, you can buy whatever the fuck you want with your money. So why do you criticize Bill Gates or anybody when they donate only 1/5, 1/64 of their wealth to saving the rainforest? Or why do you criticize people when they buy their big fucking stupid Omega yachts that cost $200 million? Why do you complain about any of these stuff? Stop. I never want to see Vaush complain about a single fucking rich person ever, because he would do the exact same fucking shit in their shoes, is what he's saying right now. He would buy the big yacht because he can, because he has the money. He would buy the big house because he can, because he has the money. He supports you guys if you make a fuck ton of money and you buy the big yacht. Okay? So like, and a lot of these people that buy the big fucking yacht, Bill Gates, again, big example. Bill Gates, I think, makes most of his money through investment. If investing in a company and then that company that you invested in causes some kind of harm, then I'm sorry. Anybody streaming on Twitch that makes a fuck ton of money or has signed that, let's say, I'll cut it right there. anyone who signed that exclusivity deal with Twitch is just as fucking culpable for the harm that Jeff Bezos causes than someone investing in a fucking company.
I just want to say I'm consistent on this.
Like
because
buying
you know
stocks.
how many times I've gotten emails from people being like, dude, I feel guilty because I'm a leftist, but I'm also a trust fund kid. Or I'm like a business lawyer. Or like I make a lot of money doing this or that. And every time I...
Oh my god. I'm a trust fund kid. Take your trust fund money and put half of it towards whatever fucking goal you want. How is that so hard? Oh my god, Vaush. I feel so bad that I don't get to, like, Vaush, I've been watching a lot of your streams, and I don't know how to feel, because every time I watch a stream, I feel like I have to donate the $30 million I'm just gonna get because of my parents. Like, fuck off, dude. Jesus Christ. Vaush, is it okay that I get through my privilege alone $30 million? I haven't earned any of this money, but there's a trust fund that my parents opened up, and so they're oil industry tycoon owners, and they make a couple $1 billion a year off of oiling, but they had a trust fund for me, and I'm gonna get $30 million when I turn 25, and I just feel so bad, Vaush. Is it okay that I get that money? Yes, son, it is okay. It is okay, little poggy boy. It's totally okay that you have this money because you live in a society, okay? You did absolutely nothing, and you live a hyper privileged life, but you're on the right track. You're one of us. You're a lefty. You as long as you say you hate Bill Gates, even though you have you've done far less than him and have millions of dollars. As long as you say you hate Bill Gates and you hate Jeff Bezos, we're on the same side, King. Oh, you invested your $20 million into an oil company because your dad suggested you do it? That's okay, King. You're still on our side. Oh, fuck. Now, the lawyer one, that's more like reasonable. Slightly less, because as a lawyer, you can be a lawyer that only defends, you can be like a union lawyer or whatever. You can be a type of lawyer that only defends kind of like left-leaning stuff, and then if you make any money from that, then yeah, I wouldn't give a fuck what you do with that, because you are already causing enough good stuff with the rest of your career that if you want to take that money that you're making through like defending unions and defending workers and all that stuff, if you take that money and you do whatever the fuck you want with it, that's fine. But extra brownie points if you take that money you make, you live your means, you live the most lavish life you can, and then any extra you put away and you put it towards like good causes. That's fine. That's awesome. Wow, props to you, buddy. Fuck, it's just so, imagine, I just can't believe that this is Vaush's take. You're a trust fund kid. You can do whatever you want with your money. Oh my fucking god. Jesus Christ. I'm getting like flashbacks to every single time a lefty has railed on somebody for being a privileged little white kid who gets their money from their parents. Holy fuck.
I've even said this to landlords. I've said, you make money. If you're a leftist, that's better than you making money and not being a leftist. Advocate for it in the ways in which you can and feel comfortable. If you're a landlord or a business owner, try to be more ethical otherwise. Overall focus not on your privileges and benefits, but what you can do with those privileges and benefits to advocate. But
no, he fell into the trap. Use those privileges and benefits to advocate. Yeah, so like use the $20 million you're getting as a trust fund, baby. Use the rental don't seek massive profits from your rent, like your rentees. Don't buy a $3.4 million house you don't need. Use that money to like advocate for your cause. Now, Vaush's argument is that Hasan does enough advocating on Twitch alone to justify a $3.4 million house. But like, okay, dude. All right. If that's the case, again, then Jeff Bezos giving $20 million to help the rainforest is enough. He's covered. He's morally justified. Oh, actually, no, wait. Jeff Bezos is justified already because Jeff Bezos owns the platform that hosts Hasan. So like Jeff Bezos is basically a lefty now. Oh my god.
You don't have to feel
don't
guilty for doing this or for doing that or whatever. Because I don't give a fuck, and I've never given a fuck. Yes, Benny boy, it's true that I'm not a big fan of conspicuous consumption, which is something that Hasan does to an extent. I do disagree with that.
Okay.
But conspicuous consumption has more to do with the aesthetic of wealth than actually possessing wealth. You can do the conspicuous consumption thing even if you're like middle income. So also,
Okay, wait, what does he mean by the conspicuous consumption thing? Oh, like flexing. Okay. I'm just gonna take his word for it that he's
exactly is
criticizing
the
for that.
end game of calling a person a hypocrite. Like, honest question, what if you're like, hey, you have too much money for a leftist, and they're like, yeah, so? Like, what do you do next? Do you like, you're like, oh, well then you can't add.
Okay, I don't want to watch those things because I think he's just because now he's talking about like my position isn't that Hasan's a hypocrite. It's just that he can do more with his wealth, and why doesn't he? Like I don't give a fuck if he's being a hypocrite. I just care about yeah, I just care that he's like not yeah. My argument is that he could do more with his money and he's choosing not to. Yeah, not that he's a hypocrite for buying a house. So yeah, I don't care. Fuck. What a fucking journey, dude. Fuck.